It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, and video games, so let's talk it all out.
It's me, Chris Dillard.
It's me, Mike Royer.
And welcome to the official Superhero Slate review of Super Mario Brothers. Finally, super in the name of a movie, Mike. We haven't had one of these in a while.
Exactly, and just, if you're all very, very impressed, we did that intro off the cuff.
Yeah.
I had no idea we were going to be subbing it up for this movie. But
Yes.
Chris has had a wild couple of days.
Yeah. I'd say Jesus Christ not because it's Easter, but because I've had a wild couple of days. But it is relevant to today.
Oh yeah, he did off mic make an egg pun too.
Yes.
So it's just you can take the boy out of the church. I guess sometimes it's hard to take the church out of the boy. Oh, that sounds even worse.
Okay, let's stop.
Super Mario Brothers
came
is
out.
off the rails. This is off the rails already.
Yeah.
Of course. It has to do with this movie for sure. But yeah, it's a wild day. Chris has a lot on his plate. So we are going to be efficient. We're going to review the heck out of this movie the most efficiently that we've ever done. But before we get down into the weeds and the nitty-gritty, this is a spoiler cast. We will put up a big alarm and warning when we start to talk about spoilers.
We will not do that. But there will just be time codes. Don't lie to them.
It's like how much... I mean, how much can you spoil this movie, too?
That's literally what I was like, there's no spoiler section here. There's a references section because, boy, if you love Easter eggs, pun intended, this movie is the Easter egg-iest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. So
yes, that is very true.
This is the day of Easter with your Easter eggs. Mario is the one you want to be seeing. So, I think let's just go ahead and get into this because... boy, howdy, did I have a wild adventure to watch this movie through and through.
Let the audience know, Chris.
Yeah, so I had tickets to go on Wednesday. I was like, great, Wednesday movies, this is fantastic. The Wednesday prior, I'd just seen Dungeons & Dragons. I'm like, I'm on a roll here. I'm the first one in the theaters. We get up, we get over there, literally we get through the previews, we get less than 20 minutes into this movie, Mike. I even went back and double-checked it. Everyone's phone in this whole theater starts going off with the warning system of a tornado touchdown.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's fascinating just right there. I've never been in a room full of people where all of the phones do the emergency tone.
Yes.
Like I've been in maybe sparse offices before and it's but a whole room of people. That must be wild.
A whole theater. And they're never all at the same time, right? They're all off by my wife's went off first. The guy to the right of me, his went off. Then mine went off. And then the next thing you know, we're in the lobby of the theater because there's actually a tornado touchdown in Louisville. You can't do this. We can't be sitting in here. And so at that point, we live less than a mile from the movie theater. We made the decision to, rather than hang out with hundreds of people from all the other movies going on, we just got in the car and drove back home. Like I said, less than a mile away to get in our basement where we felt safe. So everything was fine over here and for the movie theater and stuff at the end of the day, but we did not stick around to, hundreds of people were trying to get their money back, right? In the middle of this thing, or vouchers. And I'm like, I'm not even messing with it. They have my money. I'll come back and see it again, or I will find another way to watch it, which I had to do. We did not go back, and the reason we didn't go back is because I don't have water in my house. When you have to get water repairs, pipe repairs in a house, is very expensive. I'm like, there's gonna be a
unrelated to tornado, though. Just
absolutely
happens to be the same weekend.
Always a holiday weekend for sure. So so we ended up finally getting to finish it last night. But at the end of the day, Mike, this movie is only 92 minutes long. If you want an in and out movie, this is I felt the trailers were longer than the movie, the whole movie by the time this is all said and done, because it just goes by very, very quickly for 92 minutes. But you just mentioned you had a horrible experience before the show, and now I have no idea what's going on here.
This is a great segue. 90 minutes. It is the maximum attention span for children, if you get where I'm going here. So our theater, obviously packed, and we're going to talk about the box office here in a second. no surprise that everybody that's ever been alive ever on planet Earth is going to see a Mario movie. Probably the biggest cross-generational financial success that we've seen at the movie box office in a while. But that means my entire theater on a Wednesday night that is packed, which I was surprised because I was like, this is a Wednesday night. If you're a Super Mario fan, right? You're gonna know that it's gonna be on a Wednesday. You're gonna go to the theater early. You're gonna be in there, and it's only gonna be the fans who are respecting the content on the screen. Not the case. We had a rowdy sort in front of us, to the side of us. It was insane. I know this is gonna be a big thing when we start reviewing the movie and talking about spoilers. But the kids' enthusiasm for this film might be too off the charts. It's gone off the scale to the point where, like, I could not enjoy the movie. There was, like, at least 5 or 6, I don't know, like, mid-teenagers in front of us, like, hooping, hollering, screeching to the point. Now I'm starting to understand people that have been complaining about, like, concert etiquette recently. I don't go to a lot of concerts, but people have been discussing this very earnestly online, of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go to, like, I don't know, like a Taylor Swift concert, and then there's a crazy rabid fan next to you who's literally shrieking for 2 hours, and you can't enjoy, the concert because of this person. A very similar experience where, like you said, Chris, every single Easter egg, there had to be some sort of yell or yelp at the screen. There had to be arms flailing in the air. I was like, what is happening? Who gave everybody ecstasy and caffeine to see this movie? It was extremely distracting, Chris.
Despite the fact my theater had, potentially life-threatening weather. In mind, the kids were actually the best part of the movie, even with everything going on. I was like, "Oh, these kids are actually well behaved."
Yeah. So
that's very interesting that you have the opposite effect.
There is a perfect Goldilocks level of enthusiasm for any movie-going experience that can really elevate the whole thing. And I was so jealous because I've read a lot of people online who said, oh my God, yeah, it was great. Everyone was cheering. It was great. There was little kids next to me that would go, yay, Mario! Yay, Luigi! It's just like, that's what I wanted. Yeah. I didn't want the 14-year-olds who were wearing all of their, memorabilia that they picked up from Super Mario World at Universal Studios, shrieking at the screen, which is unfortunately what I got.
You live too close to Super Mario World. That's the problem. You're in ground zero territory there. We don't have that out here, but I think that's going to give me a segue into this box office fast, Mike, because we talked about because there's a phenomenon going on right now across the nation, majority of the nation, not all of it. It's called spring break. And what happens with spring break is, guess what? All these kids are no longer in school. So the normal time frames of watching a movie are out the window. Even from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Literally, I've never seen so many posts on social media about parents our age taking their kids to watch this movie, right? And, or going to see this movie. Kids can range literally from 3 to 15. So it was just crazy to see. But when I started thinking about my wife is a teacher, she's on spring break. Guess what? Everyone else is on spring break as well in the counties. So I was like, well, that explains the large number of people at a 4:30 p.m. showing. They're off work because of their kids are out of school, right? They're taking some time off. So that really kind of, I think, paints a picture like you mentioned, everyone and probably their mothers went to see this movie this weekend, is what it sounds like here, because this has the second best 5-day opening ever. I don't know what the first one is. I couldn't find out what the first one is, but it literally beat one of the Transformers movies that was sitting on this 5-day weekend, which is, those were just money makers at the end of the day. It's currently looking to make $377.2 million globally, making it the best animated opening movie, even ahead of Frozen 2, Mike, which was previously the record holder for animated films.
And on top of that, think of all of the untapped revenue that you don't get to see in a box office report, like merchandising, licensing deals, stuff like that. This type of movie, and kids' movies especially, are juggernauts when it comes to that.
You know how many copies of Mario Kart or like Super Mario Odyssey and Nintendo Switches are being sold that weren't already sold, right? Like, this is already the number one console in the world. So Nintendo, they own the number one console and the number one movie all at the same time.
And I think that these are all good data points to point to this is not the last we'll be seeing of this. Like, I saw some people that are probably being a little too zealous, where they're revealing their imaginary slate in their head, where they build up to a Super Smash Brothers movie, and like, yeah, it could be possible, right? But I think let's start slow. Nintendo's always been very close to their chest with their IP, so this will be very reassuring to them to make at least one more. But this is going to be a trend moving forward for Hollywood.
And what is great, and we'll talk about this in the reviews of this movie, I don't feel like it's not setting up this world that people are building in their head, right, for Super Smash Brothers. Like, there was no, like, we're going to, like, what was it, Iron Man 1 when Rhodey was, like, later, and you're like, he's going to be War Machine later. There was none of that in this movie. Mm-hmm. They kept to what a Mario game is. I will also say this is the biggest video game opening ever. Warcraft was the previous holder, but it was like half the money that this made. So that's another one. It's also the biggest, best opening for the studio Illumination, who made the thing, who's known for mostly their Minions franchise, Secret Life of Pets.
I would love to know the behind the baseball of the meetings, the deals, the money, the options when it came to Nintendo finding the studio to make this movie, right? Illumination. I don't want to say necessarily they got lucky. They proved that they could make, financial successes at their studio, so they earned it. But man, this would have just been like a golden goose for any studio to be a part of. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and you're gonna see, I think, when we talk about this, the transfer of what Illumination does with Minions over to this movie as well. And we'll talk about that when we get into the review. But like, in terms of money, I think this also holds now the biggest Friday for a non-opening movie. So like, it didn't open on Friday, it opened on Wednesday, right? Beating out Avengers Endgame and Star Wars. Like, this movie is literally breaking records left and right, and monetary records left and right, and just permeating, like you mentioned, multiple generations at a time. So
I'm sure it's going to have legs too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not going to see those devastating drops that like Shazam 2 saw a couple weeks ago.
I was trying to think of what was in theaters next week, because what this movie did, sadly, was cut the legs off of Dungeons and Dragons. But that's because you're battling for premium real estate space in the screens, right? Like, you only have so many screens in a theater. How many can you give to Mario the week after Dungeons and Dragons opens? So I'm sure that Mario money was a lot bigger. So they cut the legs off of Dungeons and Dragons to put this up there. I believe what the other movie that came out was Air this weekend, the Apple TV thing that some people saw, and it's getting positive reviews, but I don't think it's going to take the place of Mario next weekend when this movie continues to just keep going.
Yeah. The next 2 Fridays, it's mainly like adult oriented content. You got the Nicolas Cage Renfield coming up, and then there's an Evil Dead Rise coming out.
Both R-rated movies, I believe.
So, and then I'm looking at the week after that. Yeah, nothing. I would say nothing tentpole-y in the rest of April until Guardians.
Yeah. Okay. So that seems about right. So honestly, I think we will keep you guys posted on a regular episode, but like, this movie is going to literally just be dollar signs upon dollar signs, just like any Mario video game and Nintendo console ever released. Dollar signs upon dollar signs. So we will stop talking about the box office. Let's get into the review. The real review will start now. I'm going to put it under references. So I think I don't think there are spoilers in this movie at all. Just to go ahead and get that out there, Mike, and you correct me if you're wrong. But like, I think if you've not seen it, you might want to watch it, come back maybe, and instead of doing a spoiler section. So you want to get into it, that way we can be efficient as possible.
Yeah, let's just put in that spoiler warning. Spin the red lights. Get ready, everybody. all of what we just said, right? All of this hype over the box office, right? This cross-generational hit, everyone packing theaters to see it, everybody tweeting and talking about this movie. In my opinion, unfortunately, this movie is devastatingly average. I don't think there's anything that blew me away from this movie except for just the nostalgia hits occasionally. This movie does have a cheat code, video game pun intended, and that is the music.
Yeah.
Whenever they're not doing, I think, the obnoxious like pop culture needle drops of like music that we're familiar with in our world, not the Mushroom Kingdom world. But yeah, all of the music is just like when I drank this full sugar Mountain Dew a couple minutes ago. Like the sucralose is getting into my brain and touching and making it fuzzy. Just like when I hear that music and like the remixed versions of it, it's just like it brings me so much joy to hear that. I've never heard Mario music in surround sound and all of that clarity before. So that was truly a unique experience that I almost think that is enough worth the price of admission. And like you said, Chris, this movie's only 90 minutes. So even if it's just right down the middle, you know, not a whole lot going on story or plot wise, at least you're in and out in like, you know, just a couple bingeable episodes of whatever you might be on your couch streaming to begin with. But yeah, for me, unfortunately, I'll just sum it up really quickly. It was just very average. There's things I liked, there's things I didn't like, but there's not a lot of energy behind this for me, except for just kind of talking about it just holistically as like a film and it maybe like changing the way like Hollywood like pivots its content. That's fun to talk about for me, but this movie kind of left me a little meh. I don't mean to take all of the wind out of the sails.
I'm gonna go the other way. I had a great goddamn time. I was able to, despite having to watch this in 2 parts, by the way, just gonna put that out there. Once the first part, you know, your life's in danger and you're trying to watch Mario, and the other one's you're like, well, I'm at home watching a cam version. I think it was just fun to really unplug and not have anything invested in this, because it reminded me the movie. I agree. There are to steal from myself. There are a lot of Nintendo's and a lot of Nintendon'ts in this movie, right? like I will say, these songs "Holding Out for a Hero," which we just heard in Shazam 2 weeks ago, in this thing, you know, right? No Sleep to, like, you know, the music, the very on the nose pop songs that, or I wouldn't say pop songs, but like songs that you hear in multiple movies across tons of films that are very overplayed. Absolutely. The plot is as thin as you can get a plot without it breaking at the end of the day. But to me, when I think about it, as when you watch, you know, play a Mario video game, none of those have plots either, right? You're starting in World 1 and you're like, okay, the point is to defeat Bowser at the end. There's no cutscenes. This isn't a Final Fantasy movie. This isn't, you know, again, this isn't The Last of Us. That is a story driven. Mario is about high energy, jumping on things, flipping around, lots of colors, really weird enemies, and just having, you know, a fun time. And I think that really embodies it. But at the same time, as you mentioned, it's not a perfect film. It's not something you're gonna go like, this is gonna go down in the annals of history as like, oh my god, the best video game movie ever. It's the most money a video game movie ever made ever. But that's because everyone has played Mario since like 1984 or something like that. Like, you know, we going back to even the original Donkey Kong, right? There's references in here with the barrels and the stuff like that. So I just love, you know, it is, I would say, what do you say? It's the least common denominator of a movie, right? Everyone can get into this and understand it, but it is not, it's not top tier. This is not, again, for something that's highly reviewed, The Last of Us, which is an entirely different thing, but this knows its audience. This is all out, like you mentioned, a kid's movie at the end of the day, right? And you can feel that because the Illumination brand is coming through.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to like stand on any sort of soapbox, right? Because I know what I'm going up against here. Yeah. Right, this is an absolutely juggernaut when it comes to success, right? You know, I don't even like. I want to bring up the Rotten Tomato scores, but I don't want to bring it up just because it's such a nightmare to talk about that review system to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to do it. But the thing that just drives me crazy is just like it's such a success on so many metrics, right? You know, I don't want to make anybody like feel bad if they liked it or even if they worked on the movie. But overall, you can really feel the Illumination studio DNA in this movie. I was kind of hoping they might be able to break out of their storytelling shell a little bit and maybe show a new side of the studio, because there actually literally is a new side of the studio that they invented. I forgot what they coined it. Maybe it's called like Moonlight or Starstruck, something space oriented, where it's a sliver of the studio that's being outfitted just to do kind of experimental kind of animation. I think it's going to be the arm that tries to compete with like the Spider-Verses here in the future. So maybe I was hoping for a little bit of that, but it's like you said, it's very lowest common denominator, right? You know, they're going for like the bottom barrel of the jokes, pun intended, when it comes to Donkey Kong. Like the perfect example is like Donkey Kong saying like, "Oh, I like your cat costume," not. It's like those type of jokes are all over this movie, and like it's, yes, a kid audience is absolutely gonna love it, but I was just hoping like, can you inject a little bit maybe of like the Pixar DNA, right? That maybe lets the like the parents in the audience maybe like elevate it just slightly. But like I get it. This is like a kids movie, but at the same time, huge cross-generational like spans, right? I mean, talk about all the generations that have touched Mario's over the year. I just wish maybe they wouldn't have focused so much on the younger end of it, since so many people were going to this movie.
Well, I think when you look at the studio, like what studio is going to get us the most audiences available, right? Because you're not just dropping young kids off at a theater, you're getting their parents too, right? So you're selling 3 movie tickets when normally you'd sell 2 for an adult film. So I think Nintendo, when they partnered with them, they knew what they were doing. But you can I feel, maybe it's not Illumination who did this. They know how to take what they were given. It feels like literally the Nintendo higher ups were like, this is what we want it to do and include, so go get it done. Because again, like I said, no Mario game has a plot, right? You just start off, you're just opening the level, and boom, you're there, kind of thing.
Plot. I will be nice. I will say something nice, Chris. I really, and this is probably going to be like, this is going to make me seem like the oldest person in the audience. I really loved the opening of this movie when it was just about brothers and the problems with their parents, and they're in Brooklyn and they're just trying to get a business started. I was like, this is awesome. I love this. I didn't realize they were going to lean so heavily into the realism of the real world, and I loved all the little kind of like references they put in the background to like NES and Nintendo history. I loved everything that happened in Brooklyn. So I guess I'm just like the fuddy duddy that was like, they go to the Mushroom Kingdom, like, oh man, can't we go back to Brooklyn?
There are some great things. Like, again, like, you know, the Punch Out restaurant they're in early on, right? He's playing Kid Icarus on his regular Nintendo in his bedroom.
Oh my god, watching Mario play Nintendo was actually really cool. Yeah, him holding the controller, I was like, oh, this is great.
I don't know if you caught this, but whenever they're trying to get to that house early on, right, to fix the plumbing with the dog, that is all the blocks and stuff on that like thing when it's going sideways is World 1-1 from Super Mario Brothers, identically right there. Like you see it like when they're in the construction zone.
Okay. I didn't catch that. I mean, I knew that they were doing like a 2D, like, oh, it looks like a video game, but I didn't realize it was a literal 1-for-1.
Yeah, because you can see like the yellow cones and blocks like really like kind of line up with it. So you know, it's fun. This movie is full on Easter egg mode. Like if you're looking for Easter eggs or something, you know, to talk about, like this is that movie through and through. But that's unfortunately as deep as it gets.
We don't even have the time to talk about all these things. Like we would be going well over an hour just to talk about all the Easter eggs.
I pull up Super Mario Brothers references, right? The first article is 85 Easter eggs and references. I'm like, god damn! Like, I feel like that's on the short end of the stick, really. At the end of the day, but I want to touch on something here that was very. I guess people were very mad, right, when they announced Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario. Not once did I actually hear Chris Pratt in this, and I think it owes it to 2 things. One, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was just Seth Rogen the whole way through.
Yes.
And like when you have that compared to, it's not Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt, it's Chris Pratt doing like a Brooklyn accent, if you will. And I think they maybe even pulled back some of his dialogue, or maybe they never had a lot of dialogue for him, right? It's supposed to him reacting to the world he's in. was it didn't take me out of this movie at all that Chris Pratt was Mario, more because I think Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was just right there in our face the whole time, being that loud and just doing his Seth Rogen laugh. I think even at one point,
I was like, the voice talent was all over the place, right? You had probably some of the best voice acting I've seen in a while from Jack Black. Just amazing. The fact that they gave him a song too, leading into his musical abilities was just perfect. Amazing. And
well, I love the song, but I think that's where I heard Jack Black the most come out when he was singing, right? But it's fun. It was still a fun song at the end of the day. Yeah.
And also, I love Fred Armisen. I love everything that he does. But he played the worst Cranky Kong. That is like the last kind of interpretation I would have expected. It sounded like a nasally Larry David, and I hated it. Every time Cranky Kong was talking, I'm like, somebody put this dude in a barrel and fire him into the lava, because I cannot stand it. So there was big levels of what I liked and didn't like when it came to voice acting.
Yeah, so I got to say, everyone being upset at Chris Pratt doing that thing, I think absolutely wrong when you compare to what else was right beside him for the back half of this movie. Princess Peach, I can't think of that actress's name. I feel bad. She's in Split.
Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, yes. She did a great job. Was it Keegan Michael Key as Adventure Toad? Great job.
It could have been modulation with him. It could have been anybody. I wish they would have let it be Keegan more, because to me it doesn't sound like him at all.
You're right. They modulated his, right. They added that high pitched squeak to it. I would say the other parts of this, the action scenes were really fun. There's a really big one at the end where there's like a 2-player action scene with a Mario and Donkey together, both in the Mushroom Kingdom. I thought that was, again, hundreds of Mario gameplay references, including a Tanuki suit at the end of the day. But absolutely fun. Like that eclectic action, to keep that together was fantastic. At the end of the day, but I honestly, I had a good time. Again, we all play Mario games. Everyone plays. To me, it's like, it's a Mario game through and through. Like, I'm surprised they haven't announced a video game tie-in to this movie. But at the end of the time, I'm just like, it is what it is. I don't expect more of this at the end of the day, right? Like, I'm not expecting a Mario 2, but because we talked about this last week. Detective Pikachu, that was a good video game with a good story, wasn't it? Like when they did that. And it's taken them 6 years to even announce a sequel to that. So do you think they're going to start cranking out more of these, or do you think they're going to take a Nintendo break like they always do?
I would say the question block in the room. Oh my god, it's so easy to do. Talking about this movie. The question block in the room is probably just Nintendo and just Japanese business practices in general. Not trying to make them sound like a mysterious foreign land, right? But they do things with their media and entertainment just very, very differently. I mean, just look at the release of manga and anime stuff as well, and their own film slates. So I think that could make things go differently compared to how we normally see things. If I had to guess, if this was just a normal, just Hollywood pushes full steam forward, right? We're 2 or 3 years away from them announcing a huge slate of movies. Probably prematurely too, right? Maybe Illumination would have their own Comic-Con panel, right? And they would bring Miyamoto out on stage. People would just lose their goddamn minds, and there would be tons of logos on the screen, right? I could see maybe Japan, Nintendo just pulling it back just a little bit, probably to be a little bit safer, which is probably the way to do it. Well, but we got to get more. There's no way they just make 1 or 2 more of these and call it a day.
The end credits scene, for those who do want to back out, it's the post credits is very innocuous, right? It's literally just a Yoshi egg cracking, and then they say Yoshi, and I'm like, Yoshi is essentially the true sequel of this, right? You look at Mario 1, 2, and 3, then you get to Super Mario World, where they introduce Yoshi proper. I mean, that was fun. You just introduced new gameplay element. I'd love to see what they do with the Yoshi. There's even some Yoshis early on, right, down by a river. They're running they look like Velociraptors running down by a river. But I think the thing about Japan that I like is they don't franchise things, right? There's no mega Japanese franchise that you have to watch all the movies in that they're doing, and I'm like I like that idea. Like, let's do standalone good things before we get down the road, even.
So like I would say like the base here is hopefully solid enough to build on top of. Maybe they'll take a little bit more chances with the story in a future sequel. I could appreciate that. I mean, I started off talking about the music, and I'll probably end here talking about the music. I pulled up the soundtrack here, and I can't wait to listen to it because, of course, there's a soundtrack release. And the way I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing any of those like popular, like classic needle drop songs in here. So I believe it is just like the not the soundtrack, but the movie
mixes,
score, which is great. I saw a tweet which was really unfortunate because I think I was complaining about this to you before we got on mic. Of when they arrive in the jungle in the Donkey Kong Kingdom, they hop in that cart, which I would say is a clever idea, right? Because I was wondering how are they going to get these carts in the movie? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, make it like almost like a cultural thing for the apes. Like, they move around on carts. It doesn't make any sense, but it's funny.
Well, there is Diddy Kong Racing. They have his own franchise as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I don't know exactly how you attribute like little
none of these are stories. They have no story in these games, so it's just there.
But they get in the cart and then they play "Take on Me."
Yeah.
I believe that was the song. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't even understand why it's this song of all songs. But there is like a Donkey Kong song like that was made, like a mix of the classic kind of like Donkey Kong theme that I believe was going to be played there, and it's gorgeous. It's amazing. Well, so go listen to it on the soundtrack.
I think it plays when they get to Cranky Kong's I guess throne room. I think is where I heard the donkey, because I heard that music in the movie, and I think it's when they get there.
Is it supposed to be like, Cranky Kong, take on us as allies?
Take on me is the worst, one of the worst choices in there. Like, just like, I love the song. It's just like, it feels, I guess, arbitrary to the whole thing.
Yeah. If I had to compare it to like baking a cake, they just kept loading on the frosting on this because they're like, kids love frosting.
So, we need a song the parents will understand here.
Yeah, let's get a little dark chocolate in the sequel.
I did look up. So the one thing I never really thought about was who wrote this movie, right?
I looked that up the second I got out of the movie because I was like, who did this to me?
Yeah, Matthew Fogel, who wrote what we think was not good, the Lego Movie Part 2. Which I'm glad they didn't turn this movie into like, someone was playing Mario at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Minions: The Rise of Gru, which I did not watch, and then Super Mario Brothers. So it sounds like he's got a foot in the door in animated stuff. But I was like, we never really even talked about who actually wrote. I assumed someone from Mario or someone from Nintendo just gave him like, hey, hit these beats, good luck tying it together. But I think I want to listen to the music. I love the the Rainbow Road and all this fun stuff. We talked about Mario Kart and all these other good things. It's just, there are a lot of fun references. If you want to be just like, again, Leonardo DiCaprio from the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, leaning forward and pointing right, this is your movie. This is 100% your movie.
But when you do it, please do not shriek at the audience around you. Be respectful.
And if there's a tornado, please leave the theater. You do not need to sit there in the theater during tornado. So overall, I think we're split. But this movie is going to make bukus of bucks. So hopefully we'll see a better sequel, right, in the long run.
And ultimately, I can't tell you to not go see this movie. It's a Mario movie, right? Disregarding the live action one, you can't not see it. Even if I feel like, ultimately like, maybe save your time and money, it'll probably be on Peacock sooner or later. It's just like, it's Mario though. Like, you at least got to see it once. If it's not for you, maybe don't go see the second one in theater.
Well, I would tell you what, the thing about Mario video games, right, and Nintendo video, they never lose value over time. So like, see this in theater because by the time it comes out to buy, they're probably never going to lower the price on this movie, just like their game. So Well, it might be a regular news episode to cover Star Wars Celebration Europe, folks. We have probably one of the bigger episodes we ever have for news this week. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, Mike, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my brand new webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com. And Chris, people want to check you out. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or on video game consoles. This is about video games. You'll find me on video games. I'm usually Valdan or Valdan1987. So look me up, and we'll play some games together. If people know about the show, listen to that Star Wars Celebration review we're about to do. Where can they find all our good episodes at?
Head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the warp pipe that takes you directly to everywhere that we host our little podcast, on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. We got that over there too. We got an awesome website too that has lots of great resources on there with no annoying newsletter pop-ups or ads. So if you want to see when the next movie we're talking about is coming out, if you want to see some helpful timelines, we got that over at superheroslate.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we got merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. What did you think of Mario? Are you more of a Chris, or are you more of a Mike, or are you more of an individual with your own unique opinions? Let us know. Reach out. If you want to be
what is your favorite Mario game? Tell us your favorite Mario game. That's what I want to know.
It's Super Mario World Classic, Super NES. Oh man, I know they did the Easter egg of him wearing the cape. I think in the fake commercial.
Yeah, he had the yellow cape on. Yeah,
that cape better be in the sequel.
I tell you what, my favorite is New Super Mario Brothers 3D with the cat suits from. That one is just they went 3D and they did it perfect, Mike. But anyways, if you guys have favorite games, send them over.
I'm waiting for my cape on the Yoshi. That's how it's got to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a buddy, share the show with a friend, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.